I am super excited for today's session and welcome to all of you. And here is the presentation. Principles of hope and transformation. Now we're going one step further from accepting powerlessness. Accepting powerlessness is not an identity, but it's just the foundation, the very foundation we stand upon. We don't have to like show to the world that, oh, I am this what do you say, weak and powerless person. No, the point is hope. Hope is something, is like a stubborn little flame that refuses to, let us give up on our purpose in life. I was thinking of people who get stuck on some Netflix drama episode or something, worst season ever, or something. So step two is all about the reminding that something greater can hit that reset button with things that I cannot manage anymore and restore my sense of purpose. So it's a journey, okay? So we're beginning this amazing section of our boot camp where we are learning to trust in something higher, to learning to let that higher power put that reset button. Now, the analogy here is like sun. So here we see in this image, the sun is like, it rises after a chaotic all night, right? And just like when sun rises, we all wake up. So similarly, hope comes up when we allow the darkness of our vulnerabilities to fade and then let this light to shine and last forever. So even when we feel like a lost GPS situation, signal is missing, what do you do? You're in the middle of a forest. We know that we have a guiding hand, which is always recalculating your route. So this Krishna GPS, this God GPS is something very hopeful. Okay, the acronym for step two is hope. So question, what if hope wasn't the backup plan? What if that's your first step towards transformation? So that's a question for you today to look into, to further introspect. Okay. So we have a few principles. Principle of faith. So what is the principle of faith? Principle of faith is trusting something that you cannot see. Trusting beyond what's in sight. So it's like faith, right? Faith in a map. When you look at a road map, it's not about knowing the entire road map and knowing exactly the whole area. It's about trusting your whatever Google Maps, in this case, divine guidance in our case, because there is an update for every step. So step two is all about encouraging us, the faith, it's trusting the unseen, taking that step. Faith is taking those steps. It's not passive. Powerlessness is not passive. It's active, because even another analogy I want to give is when you're walking through a fog or when you're driving through a fog, it's scary, but step by step, the path reveals itself. So faith doesn't guarantee that there's no fog. There isn't, but it doesn't guarantee smooth ride always. But it does promise that you're not alone. Okay, so faith is all about not seeing whole path, but just the next step. That whatever the headlight shows you, whatever the thought you have, it having that faith is very important. I read in Melody Betty's book as well this analogy. It really hit me, and I used it also for our presentation. She speaks about it. Faith in recovery is about when you're driving in a foggy situation to see only what the headlight allows you to see. And there is God there. That's where our hope is. That's where our faith is. Okay, then the surrender to guidance. Then we allow the divine direction in my journey. And then each step reveals what's next. So if letting go of the steering wheel, if that's your first step to clarity, wow, your life is going to be so empowered. So you change the perspective, your mind opens up, and then you have a whole new perspective to see life. So open-mindedness is not that, oh, I agree to everything anybody says. It's actually about allowing new ideas to knock on your mental door, and without slamming it shut, we are not overprotective, full of fear and resentment and all that. We are actually like open. Now we don't have the overprotective security guard at the door. So that's the magic of step 2, allowing to swap the judgment for that fear to curiosity. So it's a new lens to see life, opening to possibilities beyond your understanding, and then choosing curiosity over fear instead of doubting and fearing, and then inviting transformation. Inviting transformation, how? Just like a closed flower. When a closed flower is, a closed flower never blooms. Okay, remember that. When we are closed, when we are filled with false ego, and ahim mameti, then we cannot bloom. So when you stop interrogating life like a detective, then magic happens, miracle happens, you know. And then another big topic we'll cover in these days is stopping comparing, how to learn to appreciate everything as Krishna's grace in our life and in other people's life. So today we're getting in one step ahead of acknowledging, accepting, and asking for help, acknowledging our reality. Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. Where you're empowered, your divine grace is flowing through you. It's realizing that asking help is not a waving white flag and saying I'm surrendering. It's actually pressing help button in life's escape room. And this is your escape, this is your room where we come together, we help each other. And the analogy here is a seed cracks open to grow. So similarly, humility is, it cracks our ego so that grace can enter. I love this analogy. We will discuss more about it in the next few days. So see yourself truthfully, then the ego can crack. And true strength is not that, oh, I don't need any helping hand, I'll manage everything on my own. True strength is not pretending that I've got everything figured out. You can't see my screen. Is there a problem? That's
I'm able to see Mataji.
I can
oh.
able to see, but the last slide you was sharing now, and the
So
last the flower
accepting
is opening.
limitations. Accepting limitations is a strength, and not pretending is not strength. And so I taking help from the right sangha, and creating a space to grow. Creating a space to grow. So your question to yourself is, where can I create space for grace of Krishna, grace of the Lord? Where can I create that space? Then we ask whoever, whatever situation can actually help us. Okay, so ask for help. First step towards strength. Next is the principle of restoration, from chaos to clarity. So we see restoration, we're trying to get restored here. We are willing to give up our plans, our failed missions, and we are finally ready to be put together by Krishna, the broken parts of us. So we were chaos, but we are walking towards clarity. So that chaos was, we were broken, we were disconnected, we were filled with fear and shame and not motivated in life and towards our purpose. Then we are learning to surrender, allowing healing to grow and to begin in us. Then comes the restoration where we find clarity. And this clarity and peace is what is given through step 2. Okay, first we need the readiness to surrender, and then step 2 is that surrender. So the analogy here is a broken pot. So when a broken vessel is repaired with care, like the kintsugi in Japanese culture, they take broken pots and then they mend it with gold. It becomes very strong. It becomes extremely valuable than before. So similarly, restoration, when I'm restored, I become more valuable. And I went through that experience of being broken and then being mended with gold. And wow, it's really, it's the moment where I discover who I am. So that's your path now. You're discovering who you are always meant to be. You're becoming the version that Krishna wants you to be. Okay, then then the purpose, right? The purpose of discovering who you're meant to be becomes more meaningful. Otherwise, with all that burden, without doing the first step, we cannot go forward to the second step. All right. Then Next comes the principle of flowing with the grace. The principle of surrender is not passive. It's flowing with grace. Okay? Letting go and letting who? Letting go and letting who?
Let Govinda.
Yes, let go and let Govinda. So releasing control. Why we want to release control? Because we want to align with Krishna's will, God's will. We don't want to become codependents and become some puppet in somebody else's hand. No, God's will. Then we flow like a river, our purpose, our ambitions, which becomes purified. We move with the divine purpose. Okay. And comes, what does it mean, surrender with purpose? Oh, let me see if I missed any other point here. Yeah. So again, surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving to higher wisdom, being under the right care, and it's trading control for divine flow. It's about letting that current of grace carry you to where you need to be. So like a flowing river, flowing river is effortlessly flowing. So surrender allows me to align with divine intervention, divine destination. So you are learning now here in this boot camp how to surrender so that you can flow like a river effortlessly towards the divine destination. It's not me, doesn't mean we are standing still. It means you're finally moving in the right direction. So ask yourself, where can I loosen my grip so that the divine flow can take over? There will be booklets and workbook and questions, all these things are there. You will be sent with that. And before you get your certification, you need to answer these questions and upload them. Okay, now is the principle of inspired action. This is my favorite. I've been excited to share this with you. I went through this journey. I remember myself failing in so many projects that I wanted to do. Then once I did this step work and I took this seriously, like I said, it's not about passivity. I was always inspired and ambitious, but it was that switch. I always needed that switch to act in inspired action and allowing Krishna, letting that, how do you call it, opening the door at the right time. See, let me put that, surrender with purpose, not surrender meaninglessly, surrender with I had the divine, I had the clarity that I wanted the best life. I wanted to live my life purposefully. I wanted to succeed in life, but there were many blanks. I didn't know what is the best. I didn't know which project. Though those blanks were there. So when I started to trust the process, when I started to do the step work, those divine nudges, it made me take action which was aligned to Krishna's will. So that surrender created opportunities for me, which was much more flowing. So opening the door, surrender creates opportunity. Then I was able to, the voices. I have a whole booklet for you, whispers of your soul. This is like divine nudges, paying attention to those whispers when you feel it. So once you're doing this boot camp, once you're doing this step work, then this voices becomes very, very clear and easy for you to follow. Then comes the acting with purpose. So we don't just go and act. Many of the motivational seminars that you'll attend, many advertisements around in the internet, everybody's trying to go on the same path. This is how you have to be. This is what you have to learn this and become that and earn money. And everything is so on a superficial level. They don't know what you're going to do if you earn money, what you're going to do with the success. The purpose is not very clear. The goal of life is not clear. But we are so fortunate. We have scriptures, we have Gita, we have Bhagavatam. We know that we want to act according to our nature, according to our purpose. So here in this boot camp, I want you all to be open to learn understand yourself more, understand your nature more. We will be covering how to identify your nature, how to move forward with intention while keeping your side of the road clean, how to use this motivation and empowerment that comes to achieve the purpose of your life. So it's all very integrated. So it's very important, these three principles. Number one, you don't have to do like everybody else. You have your own divine nudges. There's a whisper in you, and the whisper will become more and more clear when you do Anartha Nivritti. And then you'll be able to act with with purpose, and then you'll be moving forward with the right intention. So this training is giving you that. It's giving you like a river that doesn't resist its current, but it flows towards the power and direction. You're learning here not to go against the current, but to flow with purpose. So your dreams, your desires, they're not random. They actually are divine whispers, but often it's very much mixed up, blended with so many other voices. But once you're learning to do this step work, you start to see that whisper of God, whisper of your soul, whisper of your higher self stronger. And then the calling to your destiny becomes so much more inspired. So ask yourself, what inspired action am I ready to take right now? And within that whole chaos, sit down and have a meditative space. And for me, writing songs, listening to songs, it really brings out that more, the voice of the self, the voice of the soul, whispers of the soul. I have a whole booklet for you. I'll be sharing that. Now, when desire meets divine will, it's like a plant. The plants have, you can compare plants to nurturing your dreams, nurturing your aspirations. Okay, then let me just put the whole thing here. Then you nurture it with you nurture it with faith and patience, and then you allow divine timing for the growth. Then we can harvest it. Okay, then we can harvest it. So anyway, this is like a very basic cycle to understand. You plant, you nurture, you trust in the Lord, and then you're able to harvest it. So this point about listening to God's whisper. God's whisper. First, before we listen to God's whisper, we need to listen to our own self. Then we'll allow Paramatma to actually guide us. Otherwise, Paramatma is just sitting like a bird watching another bird eating the fruit. To allow God's whispers, we need to be acting in the higher self. So you will learn how to listen to your inner aspirations, how to clear the path for those inner aspirations, all those whispers of purpose that Krishna has for you. There's a purpose for you. Your life is not just for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. There is a higher purpose. So our deepest desires are not random. And so we need to kind of listen. We need to learn to purify those desires. So just like a bird instinctively knows how to soar, a little baby bird is pushed off its nest and it knows how to fly. Similarly, our soul is also drawn to that divine purpose. So the divine direction, guidance towards alignment is what we are walking towards. And it's really, truly fulfilling once we reach that natural calling. I mean, the soul goes towards that purpose. We feel alive, we feel purposeful, we feel meaningful. So what if your dreams from childhood, you may have had different dreams. What if they were not just wishes? What if there's a way that Krishna is pointing to you, God is pointing you home, back to Godhead, through those desires, through acting according to your nature. So everybody has our own different natures and paths that we can actually use in service of the Lord. So question for you, question to ask yourself, to journal tonight, maybe, what divine whisper am I being called to listen to? What is it? Because the principle of discernment is very important. Hearing the voice of truth is important. There's so many voices within us. There's so many voices that says, whatever, binge watch, overeat, talk to somebody, just gossip with somebody, all that, right? So we are learning how to separate, kind of like a swan. A swan, it knows how to separate water from milk. If you give it like a pot of, there's like a whole example about that. If you give like a swan a pot mixed with water and milk, it knows how to separate milk. It has like a special gland there, which it can keep filtering it out. So we are learning how to filter out certain noises and tune our hearts to the frequency of hearing the voice of truth. Then, I mean, yeah, my own example, I've seen, it's like in my life, I can give an analogy like it's like a instrument. So it's not like one day I learn the boot camp and then I'm done. It's a practice. It's the discernment to fine tune to Krishna's will. Every day I'm experiencing. I was doing this. I have this books where I used to write down. Today, have I been in alignment to Krishna's will? Has there been resentment? Has there been fear? Has there been selfishness? So writing these things down constantly, it's like practicing an instrument until I find that right frequency and it becomes natural for me. So learning to when the heart stops screaming, then God's whispers become music to the soul, because all the different samskaras, different desires, karmic baggage that we're carrying, today is a great day to release it. So if you want that whisper, that music of the soul to be heard, then we need to look at where can I create that space and that stillness in my heart so that voice of truth can come. So this is a very motivating factor for me in this step work. It's not just, again, passive, oh yeah, give up everything. No. It's about quieting the noise. So create a space for listening to higher power. And then tuning your heart. That happens in the sanghas. It happens in our meetings. It happens in these kind of boot camps where we are aligning to divine frequency together as a group. So then we are able to discern the truth. There are certain principles. We cannot just make it up in our minds. It's there. Srila Prabhupada has given us, Bhagavad Gita gives us, Bhagavatam gives us certain guidance. So we are learning to distinguish those inner loud voices, and we are aligning to the music of the soul. So distinguishing, what I call it, distinguishing ego from guidance. Okay, so ego is like, I want this and I don't like that. And Ichha Dvesha Samuttena Dvanda Mohena Bharata. Very clear Bhagavad Gita principle. I like this, I don't like this. No, we are not that kind anymore. In this boot camp, we're learning, I don't care about what I like, what I don't like. I want to be aligned to divine purpose. I want to do what Krishna wants. I want to do what God wants. I want to live my purpose fully. So walking hand in hand with Krishna. In other words, the principle of alignment. Walking hand in hand with God is a principle of alignment. Our alignment is where faith, action, and purpose all merge to create less chaos and more beautiful music. Okay, then let me just go back. I have to keep moving the screen to make it clear. So faith, trusting the divine path, even when we cannot see where it leads. One step at a time. Remember, one day at a time. Opening our hearts to guidance beyond our understanding. That's what we do in this boot camp. That's what you're doing in the manuals and the booklets, meetings. We listen, quiet those noises. We listen. Then comes then the action. What is the action? Coming to the meetings, reading the thing, chanting your rounds. There are certain actions moving with purpose and intention. Each step we take in faith creates momentum on our spiritual journey. So we are moving away from overthinking and we are acting with purpose. How beautiful it is. I mean, once in a while we have slips and this and that, but when you're climbing a mountain, it's not going to be like a smooth sail. So we need to be clear about the purpose. Once we are clear, when we are living with meaning and direction, finding our true calling by aligning our will with Krishna's will, with God's will. So it's like a compass again, no? Compass keeps us in alignment. When we're moving steadily in a direction, it tells us go left, go right. So the motivation when we want to align to God's will, no more anymore wandering without purpose, meaning I want money, I want this, I want to go to this country, if you're not married, you want to get married, if you're married, then you want a child, if you have a child, if you want freedom, all this kind of, no more wandering. It's no more confusion, but more purpose, more where can I align my actions with God's will? Then life starts to unfold in very profound ways. So I'm gonna stop here. If you have any questions, I have a lot of questions for you to answer, and if any of those questions touched you, if any of those questions brings up something for you, it's a good time to discuss that. How was this presentation for you? Was it motivating you? Was it giving you hope? because that's the acronym today, HOPE. Okay.
Yes, Mataji, definitely a question. So when we say, okay, fully surrender, um, so somebody was talking to me today with an example. Okay, so if I have a problem, if I say fully surrender, so what is my effort in solving the problem? So if I have 5 options to solve a problem, I go through 5 options and then say, oh, Krishna, I tried all 5 options, I can't do, I surrender. Or should I, like, should I do all 5 and then surrender, or like doing while all that 5 options I surrender and I'll like how is that okay, I can't do it on my own, like powerlessness, right? Like fully surrender only when we go, what point we keep doing both.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this step work. It doesn't matter. The truth is, it doesn't matter whether we tried everything and then we are surrendering, or in the midway we realize I cannot do it, or right in the beginning I decide that, hey, I don't want to waste my time. I'm going to flow with grace from the beginning. It doesn't matter. Surrender again doesn't mean that we give up, we don't think anymore. It means that we are open for divine wisdom. It could come in the beginning, it could come in the middle, it could come in the end. Krishna might want me to build my strength and my muscles by going through different options to learn certain lessons. So in this path, we don't see that those 4 failed options as useless. In this path, we are learning to change our perspective. And what's the perspective? Remember the broken pots analogy. The perspective is, it's not a failure, it's a lesson. In that particular solution, I learned that that way doesn't work, and there's a principle there. And what's that principle? How did I, what was that? What principle? Like, for example, let me say I was trying to fix a fight with some neighbor. And I tried one principle, 1 way, 2 ways, 3 ways. And in the first way, it did not work. So I look at my intention and say, yeah, in the first way, actually, I was selfish because I wanted things my way. Oh, okay, that selfishness doesn't work. Okay, tick. Next one. Oh, yeah, the second way, I was too fearful. I went there with too much fear. What will they think? And I wasn't putting God in the center. I was actually acting from fear. Okay, that's another pattern that I have. Okay, tick, that's also not going to work. I'm just giving an example here. Then the third one. Why didn't the third one work? I was not fearful. I was also not selfish. No, why? What is the problem? I didn't feel any anger or anything. Why was this not working? Because I was not honest. Somebody invited me for some birthday party, and immediately my instinctively I just said, oh, I have a class at that time. Generally I do have, but Sundays I don't have. But the instinctive thing, and then next minute, but it took me 2 minutes to realize that I was not being honest. So the point is, many of those ways don't work because for a reason. And what's that reason? Because I'm not flowing with grace. I'm not letting go. I'm not releasing control. I'm not. If I have released control, if I have truly released control, I look at my 3 ways that did not work, and I'm going to say, I'm going to flow with grace. Wow, that one didn't work because I was resentful. This one didn't work because I was selfish. That one didn't work because I was afraid. And this other one is not going to work because I am dishonest. So we do not sit in quiet, but we go with the current of grace. We go with the flow. And when we are flowing, like I said, God's will is not cheap thing. Some we go, God's will, I'll align with God's will right now. No, there's a process that Krishna wants me to learn certain lessons on the way. Does it make sense?
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a comment. This is Lakshmita. I always had so many overwhelming voices and doubts in which path to take. And when I started this boot camp, I had confusion how to identify my will and Krishna's will. And today we touched this topic. I'm hopeful that at the end of this camp, I'll be able to figure out and make progress. Definitely. That's the idea. So this question was very relevant. So Jata Radhika's question is very relevant. How do I do it? Do I do it at this time or do it? Doesn't matter. You do it. That's what matters. Going with the flow can be with mistakes. Going with the flow can be before mistakes. Going with the flow can be after mistakes. That's not the goal is not that I'll never make a mistake and I'll, flick of my finger, I'll say God's will, now be done. No, The point is the humility and all the acronyms we have, right? Surrender is the acronym for step 1. Hope is the acronym for step 2. Study that. I'll send out those booklets. You already have some of the booklets. Study that, and then you'll understand how to apply those in life. And then we come in the meetings and we discuss and learn from each other how we applied in this situation, in that situation. So this is not a product. God's will is not a product. It's a process. To align to God's will is not a product. To align to God's will is a process. So in that process, we learn, we grow, we climb, we slip. All that will happen to finally make you the pot which is touched with gold. To make us finally the masterpiece that Krishna wants me to be. Okay, does it make sense?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, so you have your questions. I'll send out the questions in the group also. Do some journaling about it. Write down your answers, and then tomorrow we'll continue. Okay, thank you.